everyone. Welcome to GreenTech's annual flagship event, iGEM 2020. We are so happy to be here and thank you all so much for tuning in to our talk today. So my name is Charmaine and I will be your moderator for this talk session put together by Ecogarage. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the talk. Okay, so first and foremost, I would like to invite Sophia Farida. So Sophia Farida is the founder of Ecogarage. She's the final year business student, she's a final year business student of the University of Nottingham, Malaysia. She, together with the entire team of Ecogarage, is working on implementing a micro-recycling center in her university. So I'd just like to invite Sophia Farida to give her opening remarks and a short introduction to what Ecogarage is all about. So, Sophia?
Thank you, Charmaine, and Assalamualaikum, Salam Sejahtera, and hello everyone. Welcome to Ecogarage's conference at iGEM 2020, the first ever virtual conference by iGEM. Thank you for logging in. But before we get started, I'd like to introduce you to Ecogarage on behalf of the team. We are a startup company that believes that only with unity there is change. So 8 months ago, I gathered a team of 11, and here we are. We are students of the same university from the same campus with different beliefs, skill sets, and knowledge, but we carry the same mission, and that is to tackle the plastic problem at our own campus. Our team is divided into two. One is for logistics, and one is for the engineering side, where they are the brains and the manpower to create necessary technology for recycling plastic waste. We also want to educate our community of the proper habit towards plastic recycling through an education system that integrates along with this micro-recycling center. And that is our vision, to create a micro-recycling center in the university. With GreenTech support for Ecogarage as a startup company and a youth-led startup company, we like to spread our message to everyone that we are all in this together, combating the climate crisis. No matter who you are and what you know, be it if you are building a sustainable business, doing research, organizing events, or even in arts, your talent is very much worth it if you can find somewhere that knows your worth. So today we have a line of brilliant speakers with different experiences providing research and solution to the plastic problem. We hope that this conference will inspire you to be a part of the solution too. So I pass my part back to Charmaine Kwa, our moderator for today. Thank you, Charmaine.
Thank you, Sophia. All right, that's amazing. If I may ask, right, okay, I understand that Ecogarage is a very new enterprise because I'm in it as well. But if you would like to share with everyone out there, especially the youth, as to what inspired or what motivated you to start an enterprise?
So, well, I think it started when I was very young. Back in primary school, the government was doing a lot of campaigning on the 3 R's, that is the recycling, reuse, reduce. Yeah. So I never really get involved in that, but it kind of sticks into my head, and I always think about it. And I always thought that the bins inside households, people treat it as if it's like a black hole in your house, like you just throw anything in there and no one really cares about the consequence. But as I grow older, I get more exposed to the waste management style, and I realized that people are innovating to better the waste management, but they are going through a lot of issues and problems, and for some reason it feels like we are not innovating enough to tackle this pollution, this problem. So I introduced Ecogarage and gathered this team of 11 to be a part of the solution too. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, that's perfect. Thank you, Sophia. Okay, so now it's my turn to properly introduce myself again. So my name is Charmaine. I'm the co-founder of Ecogarage. I'm a final year environmental science student in the University of Nottingham, Malaysia. I'm an advocate for sustainability, and me and Sophia, together with the entire Ecogarage team, we're working towards setting up a micro-recycling center in our university, as previously mentioned as well. And well, apparently, according to my teammates, I'm also an undying tree hugger. I mean, I like hugging trees, what can I say? All right, so let's move on. Before we begin, let me just quickly go through the flow of the talk today, just so everyone understand what's going to happen today. So we're almost at the end of our opening session. I'll just introduce to you the speakers we have today really quick right after this slide. Then we'll move on to the introduction, where I'll take about 15 to 20 minutes to introduce the topic. Then we move on to the science behind plastic pollution, and then the speaker series, where we have Mr. Johan from Arcom Lestari and Sydney from the Sea Monkey Project to talk about their real-world solutions. And finally, we would finish with a summary, and then we'll proceed to our live Q&A session. Okay, so here's our list of speakers. That's me again, hi. So we have Chen Hui-Ling. She also goes by the name Kitty. She's a PhD researcher in the University of Nottingham, Malaysia. Then we have Sydney. She's the founder of the Sea Monkey Project. And finally, we have Mr. Johan Mohammed. He's the past president of Arcom Lestari. Now, without further ado, let me start by introducing our topic today, which is innovative sustainable use of plastics and plastic waste, or as we would much prefer calling it, using useless trash to make useful stuff. Now, I just like to bring up 4 main key concepts, which I think is very important for everybody to hold on to when they are working towards combating plastic pollution. So firstly, plastics are precious. Now, why would I call a material that is responsible for so much destruction in our ecosystem precious? Well, people tend to overlook the contributions plastics have made in our daily lives. So let me click on this. Right, so it has contributed to technological advancement, and believe it or not, plastics have saved us a lot of energy consumption in the production industry, which I'll get to in a little bit, but for now, let's focus on technological advancements first. So the versatility, durability, and cost-effectiveness of plastics have contributed tremendously to today's cutting-edge technologies. For example, space explorations, and well, plastics are being used in the helmets the astronauts use, even in the rocket itself. They're also used in telescopes for space explorations. So by using plastics, the astronauts are allowed to view their surroundings, breathe oxygen, and travel somewhat comfortably in orbit around the Earth. And frankly, without plastics, space exploration would not be where it is today. But apart from just space explorations, plastics are used a lot in consumer electronics. So that means your phone, your laptops, your speakers, your drones and headphones, even your hoverboard, as you can see here. So I want you guys to think about the price of your phone and laptops today, and imagine if we were to substitute the plastic materials that are used in these products and substitute them with something with an alternative product like steel or aluminum and such. Imagine how much they would cost, because we all know that plastic is very cheap. So yeah, they would cost so much more than they cost today. So yeah, right. My next example is in medical applications. We can see for ourselves today in a world with COVID, the usage of disposable face masks is incredibly worrying. But if you were to think about it, the nurses and doctors all around the world has been disposing face masks and gloves and syringes every single day for the longest time, for hygiene purposes, of course. But apart from just pre-sterilized single-use medical applications, plastics are also used in prosthetics, such as like leg and arm prosthetics, hearing aids, medical implants, crutches, and many more other medical devices. Now, let's go back to this part. What about reduced energy consumption. So if we look at everything plastics have been used in, and if you were to switch those items and parts to an alternative such as glass, aluminum, steel, etc., we have actually conserved so much energy and natural resources. Don't believe me? Well, let me give you some numbers, okay? So according to the research paper I cited down here, using plastics in packaging over alternative materials has reduced energy demand by 80% and has reduced global warming potential impact by 130%. But that's not all. In construction, the amount of energy saved is equivalent to the average annual energy demand of 4.6 million households in the US. And last but not least, in automobiles, excuse me, plastics reduces up to 30% of the overall weight. So with a lighter automobile or a car, it leads to the reduction in fuel consumption and emissions. So, however, of course, these findings do not mean that plastic wastes are environmentally benign. And reason why I think this is an important point to bring up is because we have such a valuable material at our hands that are plastics. And if we were to give them some value, people would probably start treating them better rather than just tossing them out every single day. Okay, so that brings me to my next point, which is the new normal. So when I say the new normal, I'm not talking about social distancing or anything COVID related, or like, you know, sanitizing every single day. But my version of the new normal is talking about a society that lives in a circular economy rather than a linear economy. So before I elaborate further on what I meant by the new normal, let me just explain really quickly what a circular economy is, or in another term, the cradle to cradle concept. So as you can see here, cradle to cradle is basically the circular economy, and a linear economy is called cradle to grave. So in a linear economy, which is in the world we live in today, we take raw materials, we make a product out of the raw materials, and once it's defected or once we don't want it anymore, we toss it out and it becomes waste. So linking that to the cradle to grave concept, a cradle symbolizes the product and the grave symbolizes the end of life disposal destination. So the cradle ends up as a waste. But on the other hand, if we were to maintain a circular economy, the cradle to cradle concept shows that once we have the product, which is the cradle, and let's say we don't want it anymore, or like our baby has grown older and doesn't need a cradle anymore, we either donate it to someone else, or if it's defected or broken, we could fix it, or we could send it for recycling and have it turned into a whole other product or a whole other cradle in this case. So in this example, for a circular economy, there is little to no waste produced at all, and essentially closing the loop. Yeah. So a circular economy, or at least from how I see it, if we want to progress forward, is the only way to go. Right. So coming back to the new normal, right? So reason why I call it the new normal is because similarly to COVID-19, everyone had to change their behaviors and habits. For example, whenever they go out, they have to start adopting the habit of putting on face mask, or when they're outside, they have to make sure that they stay away from other people, you know, social distance. So similarly to my idea of the new normal in a circular economy, as we progress forward, we have to start changing our behaviors and habits towards a zero waste lifestyle. Now, when I say zero waste lifestyle, I don't mean that we have to be completely zero waste, but that's the direction I believe we should be heading towards. Right. So here, I want to share with you a story of a zero waste town in Japan called Kamikatsu. So this town, Kamikatsu, it has about 1,600 residents, and they separate their own individual waste into not one, not two, not five, but 45 different types under 13 categories. So it's not just plastic, aluminum, paper, and what's the other one? Plastic, aluminum, and glass, right? But there's 45 different types. Yeah, so the picture over here shows the main recycling center in this town. So this is Kamikatsu. This is not the entire town, it's just part of it. But as you can see, it's beautiful and it's incredibly scenic. And the people of Kamikatsu, they really appreciate their natural environment and surrounding. So reason why they started segregating their own waste manually was because they started seeing the negative impact caused by incinerating their waste. So this is their main recycling facility. Over here, you can see some demonstrations as to showing you what goes where. This is the paper section, the glass section, aluminum section. They will compress the aluminum into little chunks of blocks to save space. And yeah, so what I thought was really cool about this waste facility in Kamikatsu was that they started becoming the center of interaction across the region. So the whole town would converge here, making it a place that sparks community interaction. And I mean, nothing screams sustainability like a united community, right? So now the point that I want everyone to take away from this town is how people can change their behaviors and habits. So what seemed as something ridiculous, like separating your waste into 45 different types, is now a daily routine to the people of Kamikatsu. And I mean, they look really happy to me, right? So yeah, it's an amazing, amazing town for us to look upon for inspiration or motivation towards a zero waste community, right? Okay, so over here, I have a QR code. We prepared a very short and simple survey regarding your perception towards circular economy. So whoever and everyone that's tuning into our talk today, we would really appreciate it if you could just take a few seconds to scan the QR code and fill out the survey really quick. So I'm gonna leave this screen here for about 5 seconds for you to scan the code. Awesome, okay, so let's go back to my third point, which is innovation equals to future. So how are we supposed to work towards a circular economy, the new normal, being so dependent on plastics while knowing how harmful it is once it gets disposed? Well, through innovation. Okay, so you know the saying, desperate times call for desperate measures. Well, these are definitely desperate times, but it calls for innovative solutions. I'm so lame. Okay, so I just thought of a few examples right off the top of my head. Firstly, we have this brand called Upfuse. It's based in Egypt, and basically what they do is they take plastic waste and they turn it into really quality bags. And the bags aren't just low quality plastic bags. Even though they are made out of plastic waste, they are of really, really good quality. They have really unique designs as well. So, I mean, it shows that even though we treat our plastic waste as trash, they actually have so much potential to be turned into something of really, really good quality as well. Yeah, so my second example here, which is my favorite, is this road. So this road looks like an ordinary road, but as you can see from the sign here, it says that this road is made from waste plastic. So yeah, this road is made out of plastic waste. It's not made out completely of plastics, but what they did is they took plastic waste, so plastic bags or plastic bottles, and they modified bitumen. So bitumen is also known as asphalt, is a form of petroleum. And instead of just laying down a road with bitumen, like an ordinary road, what they did is they modified the bitumen with plastics. So it's called a polymer modified bitumen, so PMB. And not only is this road capable of storing plastic waste, it actually increases the strength of the road by 100%. It withstands heavier traffic and it lasts so much longer than an ordinary road. So I think if I remember the numbers correctly, a kilometer length of road with a width of about 1.5 to 2 meters wide is capable of storing up to 100,000 plastic bags. So not only is this road safer for people to use, but it is a great innovative solution for us to redirect plastic waste from entering our ecosystems and also entering the landfills. Yeah, oh, this road is also a road in India. Okay, so now my final example is this book. It's called Cradle to Cradle. I'm not showing this book because of the topic, but this book looks like an ordinary book, but it's actually made out completely out of plastics. And reason why this is so innovative is because after you're done reading the book, you can send this book back to the manufacturer where they would wash off the ink and they would recycle the book completely into another book or another plastic product. So in this case, there's little to no waste produced at all. And as you can see, the book is waterproof. Yeah, so I like to say that there's no one solution to an issue, but there are numerous. And as you can see, I presented 3 examples here, and these examples were just right at the top of my head. And I'm sure that if I were to do more research, I would be able to find so many more examples and so many more innovative solutions that are out there ready for us to leverage off. Okay, so finally, my last point is we're all in this together. I'm not going to sing, I'm sorry you had to hear that. But I'd like to quote Sophia on something she said. Okay, so she said that everyone is capable of contributing to environmental uplifting based on their own skills and talents. So no matter what it is you're good at, you have a role to play in the betterment of our environment and future. Yeah, so that is my 4 main key concepts I wanted to present. But before I pass the baton to Kitty, I have one more slide talking about plastic pollution and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So the main SDG I took away from the 17 SDGs that relates most to plastic pollution is SDG 12, which is responsible consumption and production. But I also listed out a few that closely relates to plastic pollution, such as SDG 3, good health and well-being, 6, clean water and sanitation, 11, sustainable cities and communities, 13, climate action, 14, life below water, and 15, life on land. Now, there are 17 total SDGs, and somehow, some way, all 17 of them are somehow connected to plastic pollution. The ones I listed out here are just the more obvious SDGs that can be linked. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is because all the SDGs somehow are interlinked. And if we were to tackle one issue, in this case, plastic pollution, we are also capable of tackling so many other linked issues as well. Okay, so that's my part. Next, I would like to invite our researcher, Kitty. All right, so Chen Huiling, or she also goes by the name Kitty. She is a PhD environmental researcher in the University of Nottingham, Malaysia. She's an environmental enthusiast. She's doing research on microplastics in river ecosystems and their implications towards ecological and human health. Her previous researches were regarding household waste management and also plastic waste problem in Malaysia. So as you can see, she really knows her plastics. All right, Kitty, the screen is all yours. Take it away.
Hi, so thank you, Charmaine. So today I'll be talking about the science behind plastic waste, and I'll start with a little bit on the background of plastics. So what is plastics? Plastics are organic polymers and they are commonly derived from petrochemicals. So the majority of them are synthetic, but some of them can be derived through renewable materials such as cotton, corn, or sugarcane. Plastics were originally invented in the 1900s, but it wasn't until the 1960s that they became really popular. And they're well known for being really durable, lightweight, and versatile. The reason why they became popular is because they are relatively cheap and they can be used to replace traditional materials such as wood and metal in various industries. So as Charmaine has mentioned earlier, they are designed with really specific characteristics and used in different industries such as your packaging industry, automotive, construction, you name it. And this, because of this, they have created a really high demand. So let's take a look at the global plastic production. So from this graph, you can see a substantial increase of global plastic production. And in 1950, the global plastic production was at 1.5 million tons, but this has increased to 359 million tons in the year 2018. So with all those plastics produced, it is not surprising that we now end up with a plastic waste problem. And of all the waste generated globally, plastic waste constitute 12%. It is the third highest after food and paper. So majority of them are plastic packaging. They account for 40% of the global demand. And there are single-use plastics, such as your grocery bags, your food containers, and your bottles. And these plastics they're designed for immediate disposal after use, and they're often discarded within the same year of production. So here we see an exponential increase in the plastic waste generation. And bear in mind that this graph is a cumulative graph. So it is estimated that by the year 2050, there would be 12 billion tons of plastic waste ending up in the landfills and also the natural environment. And to give you an idea of how much 12 billion tons is, so let's imagine we collect all of the waste and put them into little garbage trucks. That would require about 1 billion garbage trucks. And if you put them all in a single line, they would be enough to round the earth 250 times. And that's how much plastic waste we will have on earth by the year 2050. So the way plastic wastes are dealt with globally is that they are usually landfilled, recycled, or incinerated. So 9% of them are recycled, 12% incinerated. The majority ends up in landfill. And for those that are landfills, 32% are lost to the ecosystem every year. And as with other countries, Malaysia is also faced with our own plastic waste problem. There are over 1,300 plastic manufacturers, and we're now one of the largest plastic production industries globally. And matching the global pattern, plastic packaging is also the largest end use for plastic that are produced in Malaysia, contributing to the production of more than 940,000 tons of mismanaged waste produced. And this is a really crucial problem here in Malaysia because our waste management systems are inadequate to deal with the amount of waste that are produced annually. So in Malaysia, the percentage of waste that are sent to landfills are a little higher than the global percentage, which is at 85%, and 15% are sent for recycling. So this model here, it shows the current flow of plastic waste in Malaysia. And generally, they are either discarded altogether with the other type of waste into regular bins and then sent to landfills, or they are separated at source by the public and then brought to the respective recycling facilities, either your recycling centers or the different kind of boxes that we have around. But the key issues here is that waste are not really separated by the general public. So in 2007, the year 2007, the government has implemented what we would call the mandatory waste separation scheme. And for those who fail to separate their household waste, they will be fined up to a maximum of 500 ringgit. And although this act has been implemented 13 years ago, it has yet to be enforced strictly. And this was actually one of my research topics 2 years ago. And from what I've found, the majority of Malaysians say that they are willing to separate their household waste and recycle all the recyclables, but then they do not actually do it. They will have all sorts of excuses, say that they are really busy, they're too lazy, or there's just no facilities around the area. And sometimes they just don't do it because everyone else is not doing it anyway, so why should they, right? So this is something we should all improve on, which is to take responsibility and not push the blame to the government, saying that there's no facilities provided and other excuses. And the other issue here is that recycling plastic is expensive. So when it comes to picking materials, production companies, manufacturing companies, they tend to opt for the cheaper ones. And in this case, it's not recycled plastics because virgin resin, it's much cheaper than recycled plastic pellets. And another problem is due to the versatility of plastics themselves because they can be produced in various forms. It produces a problem when it comes to recycling. So not all plastics can be recycled in Malaysia, and only types 1, 2, and 5 are recycled. And that includes your shampoo bottles, your mineral water bottles, and their caps. So the others are generally rejected by majority of the factories unless they specialize in a certain type of plastic waste, then they will collect it and recycle them. And now I'm going to talk about another problem, but on a much smaller scale. So as I've mentioned earlier, the majority of plastics are sent to landfills. So do we know what happens to the plastics after they're in landfills? Do they just sit there? So unlike waste, such as your food waste, your paper waste, plastics do not completely degrade and they cannot be permanently eliminated from the environment. And instead, they break down into smaller and smaller plastic fragments, in which we now call it as microplastics. So microplastics, they are basically plastics that are smaller than 5 millimeters in size. They can either be produced at microscopic size to use as microbeads in your toothpaste, your bath gels, or they can be produced through fragmentation of larger plastic debris. So where can these microplastics be found? Since the majority of plastics end up in landfills, the constant exposure to sun and rain will cause them to break down into smaller and smaller plastic fragments. And will they sit in the landfills forever? Not really, because they can flow out of the landfills together with the leachates and end up in your rivers and eventually in the oceans. And as I've mentioned earlier, more than 30% of plastic waste are lost to the environment. Because they are so light, they can practically just fly away, especially your single-use plastics, your plastic bags, your straws. They are usually lost during transport. And eventually they will get drained into your rivers. When it rains, they'll get washed out of roads and be transported into the oceans. And when they're in the ocean, the degradation happens again. So physical degradation, they have like, they break down into smaller fragments, basically. And really, they are omnipresent now. They are in the water that you drink and also in the air that you breathe. And when you go out to the park thinking that you could breathe fresh air, you're potentially just breathing in plastics because the synthetic clothing that you're wearing is also made out of plastics. So what are the impacts of plastics? So it is estimated that 12.7 million tons of plastics enter our ocean annually, and that is equivalent to a truckload of plastics being dumped into the sea every minute. And with that, 1 million marine animals are estimated to be killed by plastic waste annually. So I'm sure some of you have seen this disturbing images here of how marine animals, the birds, they are entangled by plastic. Plastics can also harm animals through ingestion. So a seabird can ingest up to 385 grams of plastic, and a sperm whale, they have found as much as 100 kilograms of plastic in them. And to give you a perspective, so 385 grams, it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's actually about 2 mobile phones worth of weight. So can you imagine a bird having 2 mobile phones in the stomach? That is really heavy. So what about microplastics? Even though they are really, really small, they have been reported to cause all sorts of implications on animals. And upon ingestion, they can translocate. That means they move from your organ to other tissues or other organs in your body. So they do not only affect the digestive system, but they have been reported to alter genes. They have decreased your blood cell count, growth rates, predatory performances. They cause immobilization, and eventually they just cause mortality, like increased mortality rate. So the impacts of microplastics on humans are still not known to date. Researchers have found microplastics in our food and drinks, and even in your bottled water. Microplastics have been reported in your human stool samples, which clearly shows that humans, we have already ingested and egested them out of our systems. But what about those that are not digested, those that remain in our body? So we do not really know what harm it will cause, but what we do know is that microplastics, they can act as carriers for contaminants and releasing toxins and additives when they are in our body. So what are the solutions, the potential solutions to this problem? So the government, they can implement, they can have a complete ban on single-use plastics. So right now, the government has been pushing to increase the use of biodegradable plastics as an alternative to your usual plastics. And they have came up with their idea of a roadmap to zero single-use plastics. But what does biodegradable really mean? Like, unlike your food waste and your paper waste, for instance, plastics do not get digested by a bunch of bacteria, decompose, and then just vanish. So instead, they will break down into smaller pieces and again, become smaller and smaller. So when you get a plastic bag that prints, this bag is biodegradable, what it really means is they will become smaller plastics and they do not vanish like your food waste. It makes you feel better seeing the word biodegradable, thinking that you are making a better choice, doing a part for the planet, but really it's just not much different from the usual plastics. The government can also strictly enforce waste separation at source. So currently the mandatory waste separation, it only applies to 6 states in Malaysia. And even with that, it's not enforced strictly and the public are not aware of it and are not fined when they do not separate their waste. So what we need is a comprehensive guideline for the public, telling them exactly what they need to do and really just give penalties to people who do not comply with the regulations. And the last thing we could do is to support circular economy, like Charmaine has mentioned just now. So we have to ensure that the plastic waste are redirected back into the manufacturing process and form a cycle. Because the current plastic waste cycle that we have, the majority of the plastic waste are sent to landfills. They end up in landfills. So what we need to do is to pump it back into the system because we can't stop using plastics entirely. So what we can do is use what we already have and reduce the waste that we produce. So that concludes my talk for today, and I'll let the rest of the speakers talk about how to turn trash into useful stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Kitty, for the insightful sharing. Okay, so now I'm sure as an environmental scientist, you would have to go out into the field quite often for data collection, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so my question is, are there any memorable experiences that you would like to share with us during your previous field trips?
Yeah, I do actually. So I wanted to look at how flood events in rivers will affect the concentration of microplastics. So my plan was to go out and take samples every hour when it is raining. So the first day, my colleague and I, we went out because it was raining. So we went out to our site and it stopped raining. So we collected our samples for about 4 hours and it didn't rain anymore. So we went back. And the second day, it looked like it was about to rain again. So again, my colleague and I, we went out to our site and we just kept on sampling for about 4 hours. And after the fourth hour, it started raining. And it was really exciting. So we collected our samples and the rain started getting heavier and heavier. So we had to wear our raincoats and sample every hour. And there was a point where we were thinking, when are we going to stop? Because we were supposed to stop when the flow hydrograph, when the flow of the river it decreases, then we will stop. But it didn't stop. And even when it was 10 p.m., it was at night, dark, it didn't stop yet. So we kept on sampling. And then finally at 12 or 1 a.m., the hydrograph, the flow just reduced. So we took our last sample at 2 a.m. and we went back. So practically we were in the field for 12 hours. Yeah.
Oh my God, yo, the sacrifices we make for science.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for your answer. That's crazy. All right, thank you, Kitty. All right, so with the science and hard facts laid down for us, we're now moving into our speaker series. So let me introduce our next speaker. Okay, here, Sydney Stillen. Okay, so and with that, I'd like to invite Sydney to turn on her mic. Okay, she already has. Let me just briefly introduce Sydney to you guys. So Sydney Stillen, she's the founder of the Sea Monkey Project. They create ocean plastic solution and education. They design and utilize a mobile recycling machine. They connect small communities to upcycle plastics and spread awareness. And she sails around on a boat with her family. So it's quite amazing. All right, Sydney, take it away.
Hello, everyone. So what I'll start with is who are the sea monkeys? Next slide, please. So the sea monkeys, we are a family of 4. This is me, my mom, my brother, and my dad. So we have actually been, next slide, please, sorry. Oh, no, previous slide. Yeah. All right, yeah. So my family and I, we used to live in a house and we came from Australia. So when we moved onto a sailboat in 2011, kind of out of necessity because of society, economy issues or something. But yeah, so we moved onto a sailboat and we sailed up the east coast of Australia and we sailed through Southeast Asia. We went through Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, and a lot of land travel through Southeast Asia. And what we saw as we sailed, we started sailing just because it was the dream lifestyle for us. But as we sailed, we saw places that tourists don't always get to see. And what we saw was, next slide, please. Yep, everywhere we sailed, we found plastic. So this is what our sailboat looks like, and that is the sea monkey. And that's why we named our project after. Yep. So, plastic. So when we sailed and we found all this plastic, we realized that it was such a global and vast problem, and it penetrates so deep into every human's health and every animal out there, their health. We knew we had to do something about it. So when we went through Southeast Asia, once we reached Malaysia, previous slide, please.
Sorry.
It's okay, thank you. So when we reached Malaysia, that's when we decided to create the Sea Monkey project. And so what we saw as we sailed, one of the main reasons like how plastic pollution in the ocean works is this graph here that was cartooned by my fabulous mom. This is a graph of the 5 gyres in the ocean. And what the 5 gyres are, they are essentially just massive whirlpools of plastic in the middle of the oceans. So here you've got, the one in between America and Japan. That is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and it is the largest it's the largest gathering of plastic in the world. And it is twice the size of the state of Texas, which is the largest state in America, if you don't include Alaska. But so it's twice the size of Texas, and it consists of, so what is quite a mind-blowing fact is people usually think it's just like this island, this heap of trash, and it's all these big pieces and stuff. But what it actually is consists of 97% of it is microplastics. And yeah, you all know all about microplastics from the previous speaker, and so I won't explain too much about what it is. But so there you've got the biggest concentration of plastic in the world. And on the next slide, please. Yeah. So this photo I took myself on the island of Hawaii in America. And everyone thinks that, I mean, the idea of Hawaii is that it's just this pristine, untouched, beautiful, sorry, there's some boats going past, it's really loud. But anyway, so what people think it is, they just think it's just this pristine, untouched, tropical paradise. And it's just absolutely gorgeous. And don't get me wrong, it most definitely is. Hawaii is a beautiful place. But this was taken on the biggest beach, like the longest beach on the main island, well, not the main island, on the capital island of Oahu. And in this picture, you'll see that it actually mostly consists of microplastics because Hawaii is just on the outskirts of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, unfortunately. So on the next slide, please. Yep. So when microplastics get into the ocean and they break up into, when plastics get in the ocean and they, you got the sun beating down on them and you've got the motion of the ocean and things rubbing against it, the plastic breaks down into these microplastics, which are often way too small for us to see. And they are usually, so they're often way too small for us to see, but when we can see them, they look like this. They mix in with the sand, and when it mixes with the sand on beaches, it's known as beach confetti, and it may sound fun, but it most definitely is not fun. So on the next slide, please. Here's what it looks like. This is all considered microplastics, really, except for a few little bits and pieces in there. But what you'll notice is you'll find a few different colors of, red and yellow and stuff, but the most of it is white, gray, and blue. And the reason why it's this color is because when microplastics are floating around the ocean, and you've got, so what happens with the chemicals in plastics is it actually absorbs algae and it sticks to plastics. So when microplastics attract the algae and they're coated in it, little fish can come along and they can look at this brightly colored piece of what they think is food in the ocean, and they'll smell it and it smells like their food. So then they'll go up to it and then they'll eat it. And as it goes, you know, the plastics get into the fish's stomach, then the bigger fish eat the little fish, then the bigger fish eat those bigger fish, and then we end up eating the bigger fish. So yeah, as a previous speaker said, we are ingesting lots of plastic all the time. So I think this was a 2018, 2019 study. I could be wrong about what year it is, but it was found that humans are ingesting up to 5 grams of microplastics per week, and that's about a credit card's worth of plastic. Yeah, so we get that in our stomachs every week, and it's really nasty. But yeah, so there's a lot of blue and white plastics here because it blends in with the sea and it's not really seen by the fish a lot more. But then when it isn't eaten by the fish, it's washed up on the beaches, and it harms other animals, and it harms us human beings, and spoils the playground of nature for us. Yep. So on the next slide, please. Yeah, so this is a picture I also took of what it looks like of microplastics, well, plastic breaking down into microplastics. So yeah, it's just very slow, and it takes years for it to do that. But yeah, next slide, please. Yeah. I forgot that this slide isn't here. Anyway, I'm not used to this slide transition. Is this in order?
I believe so.
Anyway, I don't think it's in
move
order.
on to the next slide and see what it is. So there's this, and then there's this. We can just edit this out. It's okay.
Start with the previous. Yeah. So okay. So it turns out that the slides are not in complete order, but it's fine. So we thought to ourselves, this is a very, very massive issue. What can we do about it? So when we sailed on, we reached Malaysia, we went through different ideas, and then we got to our very first ideas, which was this 3-in-1 plastic recycling machine. So this was not invented by us, unfortunately. It was actually invented by a man in Holland known as Dave Hakens, and he has his own business known as Precious Plastics. But we took his free blueprints that were open source, and we sort of pioneered in these machines to make them more portable and sustainable, so that we can use these to achieve our goals. And I'll explain what our goals are on the next slide. But for now, we have on a previous slide. Yeah. So anyway, it's fine. Yeah. So on this picture, these are our machines. These are what we manufacture, and we have sold to many companies all over the world. But we are currently manufacturing them, and we have in the past manufactured them for small village communities around Southeast Asia. And I'll get more in detail with that on a few slides later. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back 2 slides and have a look at some of the products that we can make from these machines. So this photo are of our Sea Monkey project rulers. And, you know, we had this reoccurring, I don't know, not complaint, but no, it was like it was a suggestion. People were like, oh, you should make something that's useful for everyone, and so that everyone can use it. And we wanted to relate back to our goal at heart, which is education. So we thought rulers, education, everyone uses them, and it takes up plastic very nicely. So we've got recycled plastic rulers. And next slide. So these are our recycled plastic turtle necklaces. I'm wearing mine right now, but you probably won't see it anyway. So what we have, these are actually our very first product that we started manufacturing, and they were the very first thing that supported our project to keep us going. But now we do a lot more stuff besides that. And 2 slides over, please. Yep. So on the background, these are some coasters or wall tiles that we make. And on the front, these are some pegs. We don't manufacture the pegs anymore, unfortunately, because the mold design was a little bit wrong, but they're very useful on our boat. So we used all the prototypes on our boat, so good stuff. All right, next slide, please. Yeah, so with our machine, we have managed to work with some big companies to make an impact. And this example is we made 100% recycled plastic coasters for Adidas last year for their parlay collaborating with Adidas for the Oceans fun run. So we made 300 of these coasters and we gave them out to the runner participators so they can have a look at it and see that it's made of recycled plastic and get a little bit more educated on the issue and have it as a reminder in their house about to always make a difference. So yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. And this is also a keychains that we're manufacturing for the body shop. And next slide. Yeah. And yeah, this is a lot of our products together, and in the middle, the string looking things, those are our toggles that we actually make, well, the toggle fasteners that we make out of recycled plastic and fishing net that we've collected from the oceans and beaches ourselves, like my family and I. So next slide, please. Yeah, so plastic pollution is a big problem. And, you know, everyone can start to make a difference by, you know, stop using straws, and you can campaign to stop using straws and all that. All of that is fantastic work. But the biggest polluter of plastic pollution in the oceans is actually fishing nets from commercial fishing. Commercial fishing. And what happens is some of these nets get lost overboard, or fishermen, when they're out there, they find that their net is too damaged, or they've got some rope that they don't need anymore. They got, I don't know, just damaged rope. They don't take the time to keep it on their boat and take it back to mainland and recycle it or dispose of it safely. All they do is they just chuck it over the side of their boat, and it just floats around the ocean for years and years. And these are known as ghost nets because they float around the ocean and they claim the lives of every sea creature that gets entangled in it. So it's pretty devastating. So we thought, this is plastic pollution as well. We can turn this into a valuable material, because all plastic is a valuable material if you know how to use it. So we went, my family and I, just kind of casual, we went out to an island here on Tioman, and we went ourselves, hand cut and collected kilos and kilos of, well, this wasn't casual, this is over quite a time. We collected kilos and kilos of fishing net and rope. And what we do with this is, next slide please, if it's in order. Oh yeah, so this is a picture of my dad and I, how we collected the ropes. So next slide please. So what we do with these is we take these fishing nets and the rope and plastic pollution and sails and seat belts, discarded seat belts, all that jazz, and we turn these into 100% upcycled material backpacks, tote bags, and hip bags. So everything used to make this bag was 100% upcycled materials. Even the stitching used to be PET plastic bottles, so mineral water bottles. Yeah, so this was our latest, biggest product, and we just, back in, not July, a couple months ago, we did a Kickstarter campaign for them to get them going, and it went very successful. So now we're shipping out these bags all over the world in sustainable packaging, in case you want to know. So yeah, we take a lot of materials from the environment, and we saw these. We've got some designers working for us, and my dad and I, we looked at it together and we're like, okay, where can we utilize these materials? And we put them together to what they're best can be used for, and then we turn them into these useful products. So yeah, every plastic pollution material is worth something if you know how to use it. So on the next slide, please. Yeah, so at the end of it all, you know, we do lots of recycling and upcycling, but at the end of it all, you can't recycle your way out of this problem. What you got to do is, at the end of it all, education is the main thing that matters. So what we want to gain out of everything we do in the end is education, educating kids who are the next generation of people who will decide how this earth is run, and also adults who raise these children and are the current generation out there running this planet. So we want to educate everyone of every age and every country to assess this problem, because it's everyone's problem. Doesn't matter what country you come from or what age you are, it's everyone's problem. So we need to educate everyone. On the next slide, please. Yeah. So one of the ways that we do this, not only through our products, through the story that we have of our products, is we have education material like these plastic pollution education comic books, which were completely curated and cartooned by my awesome mum. And what we have a video guide up on our YouTube on how to teach it, and it can be used as a coloring book, an activity book, but it educates kids of all ages. Like, we've taught this to 6-year-olds and teenagers, and some adults have been interested in it as well. So we use this to teach everyone we can, and we have it free for download and printing on our website in case you want to check it out and get educated. Anyway, next slide, please. Yeah, so these are the 6-year-olds that we taught how to use about plastic waste through our comic book. And I think they were a little bit tired after that session, but anyway, I'm pretty sure that they learned some good stuff. Next slide. Oh, yeah, so that's, again, I'm not used to this slide transition. But yeah, so that is basically, we do so much for our cause. It would take a much longer time to, and many more slides to describe everything that we do in our project, but that is the basics of what we do and how we can utilize plastic to make the earth better, instead of just letting it sit around or just rot somewhere and hurt and harm the animals. So what we believe is, one message we want everyone to take from this is that we may be a big company. We're not a big company. That is so wrong. We are a social enterprise with 8 employees, and that's it. And so we may be a social enterprise now, but we started from just my brother and I and my parents. We saw this plastic pollution problem. We made little YouTube videos about it, and the YouTube videos spread the awareness to many people all over the world, and then people were more interested, and as we were more interested, we learned more, and as we learned more, we did more. So, and then now we are a social enterprise making quite an impact. We think we're making quite an impact on the world. So for anyone who wants to, you know, start making change but just doesn't know how, is just to start doing something. It doesn't matter what you do, you know, how small it is, but from small things, you know, big things grow. So you just got to start doing something, and you'll learn more, and then you'll do more. So hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Sydney, for that really inspiring input. Also, for your information, Sydney is 15 years old, and she's already done so much to help the plastic pollution issue we have out there. I really want to ask you about how it's like sailing around the world on the boat with your family. I mean, it's off topic, but I'm really curious to hear, how do you guys get into sailing around, and when do you guys get into that, and what made you guys think, okay, let's get on a boat and just sail around?
Yeah, well, I would have described how we did it before, but I was worried I'd run out of time eventually, but all right, I'll describe it now. So we actually moved onto a sailboat. We came from Brisbane, Australia, but we moved onto a sailboat when I was 6 years old and my brother was 3. And the reason why we moved on the boat is because we actually went bankrupt. So my dad was a carpenter, and he had a big company of carpentry, building houses, and my mom was an interior designer who wasn't overly happy. She wasn't very happy with her job. And when we became bankrupt and the government, well, the banks and the government, they took our house and all of our cars and possessions and the company, everything went down the tube, and we had nowhere to go. But luckily, my dad has grown up on boats as well, but he hasn't lived on one. So my granddad is actually Dutch, and the Dutch are very into sailing. So he's built 4 boats over his lifetime. And he said, you guys can come and live on this boat until you get back on your feet and, get back out there. But when we lived on the boat, we were a lot closer. This boat was so small. It was only like 39 feet long. It only had 2 rooms, which was one, the main room with everything, the kitchen, the lounge room, the living room, bedroom, and then there was the bathroom, which is a separate room. So we realized, it'll be so hard to get back out there into society, and we just don't want to do that again. That was just bollocks. Don't want to do that again. So we realized that the boat life is actually, my parents realized that the boat life is actually a dream life, because we're so much closer as a family and we're a lot more freer, not for money really, because we had to earn money again from scratch. And we were very free. So we started, getting back on our feet, and then eventually got enough money to buy our own boat, which is Sea Monkey today. And then we just started cruising. We're like, all right, let's just start hopping up the east coast of Australia, Great Barrier Reef, and get up to Darwin. And then we're like, all right, let's go through Indonesia and Southeast Asia. And we've done a lot of land travel through then as well. But one thing that's been incredible about it is just the perspective of the world that you get when you're like a tiny, tiny little kid who does not know what's going on, does not know what bankruptcy is or anything, and you're just on a boat and you grow up on the ocean and getting used to the quirks of living on a boat, which there is a lot. And, living sustainably, because you got to conserve water, you got to get your power from solar panels, you got to get your food from the ocean, and it's a really sustainable lifestyle. And I guess that's what really got us first to see this plastic pollution problem, and that we have to do something about it, because boat people are very sustainable living people, and it's pretty wild. So if anyone had like questions of the boat life, I don't mind answering them. I love it. Just text us through our social media. So yeah, I can go on for about boat life. So you don't want me to do that.
Oh, I mean, I would love for you to do that, but we are running out of time. But thank you so much for sharing it. I'm so sorry to hear what happened to your family, but it's so amazing how you guys could put yourself back onto your feet. And today you're making such a positive impact on the community, sorry. Yeah, so thank you so much, Sydney, for your time. Now our final speaker for today is Mr. Johan. Now, our final speaker for today is Mr. Johan. I have never met Mr. Johan personally before, but upon doing some little research or stalking, we're so excited to have him here with us today. Let me just quickly introduce Mr. Johan and his endless list of accomplishments. I'm so sure that apart from just these mentioned over here, I'm pretty sure that he has been involved and contributing in so many other projects and in other industries and so on. So Mr. Johan is the past president of Arkom Lestari. It's an NGO. He's the current president for Malaysia Hemp Tech Industrial Research Association. He has linked hemp industry with the UN SDGs. He hosts workshops for Ecobreaks, which he will elaborate further later in his presentation. He has introduced Towards Zero Waste campaign involving 20 schools into farming, the 5 R's, proper waste management and recycling initiatives. He co-organized Leaders Academy for a global cleanup campaign. He is working towards solving waste issues starting from Malaysia, Myanmar, and Korea. He's a certified trainer for Green Productivity, Asia Pacific Organization, Japan. He's an advisor for a sustainable campus for IIUM, that's the International Islamic University of Malaysia. And he's a strategic advisor for Sejahtera Malaysia under Arkom Lestari. All right, if I mention anything wrongly, please to correct me. Okay, so with that being said, Mr. Johan, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and actually I'll just pause the recording. Okay, so with all that being said, Mr. Johan, the screen is all yours.
Hello. Hi, thank you, Shamin. I'm today representing Arkom Lestaris. So we are sharing on this title called A Small Effort for Positive Impact. So the objective is to encourage and let's stop using single-use plastic. So my name is Johan. I'm the past president of Arkom Lestari, and thank you also to Arkom for inviting me to speak. I think one of the reasons being I'm the person responsible to introduce our Ecobreaks campaign. I will share with you later. So Arkom Lestari was established in 1999, actually, when we saw the first plastic pollution happening in Malaysia, and we formed the organization back in 2010. And Arkom stands for Recycle Community. We want to educate the public to learn more about the recycling and what we are facing in this region, especially in Asia. I have this article that published by NST in this year, February this year. It's the report says that Malaysia is the Asia's biggest plastic consumers. So we have listened to the previous effort done by Simangki, and there's so many activities, and Arkom is the organization that are responsible to bring in the cleanup from Estonia called World Cleanup Day in Malaysia back in 2015. So also in 2015, since we will getting ourselves prepared in terms of the cleanup activities held every year, so we set a project called My Ecobreaks. So My Ecobreaks is actually from the Southeast Asian Network. This Ecobreaks, it was introduced by a group in the Philippines and then in Bali, and I think we are bringing a Malaysian version to introduce this to minimize the waste based on Arkom direction is to educate the public on minimizing waste. So we know when we walk down the streets in your city or even in the kampong and along the beaches, even in the forest, so what actually we see. So of course the previous recent pandemic, we saw that the nature has actually bring wildlife, as there's so many wildlife is coming back to the nature, but once human doesn't take care of the plastic and the waste, I think this problem will never end. So what we hope here from the presentation and sharing, that we are able to encourage public to first rethink of purchasing any products that contribute into waste. So this is some example of pictures in Southeast Asian region. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this was taken in the Philippines. As you can see, there's so many plastic bottles. These are among countries that contributed a lot, and mostly plastics are polluted by single-use plastic. So therefore, My Ecobreaks was introduced based on since Arkom is not business oriented, we don't sell or we don't whenever we host any or conduct any workshops, most of our workshops are free except for companies, and we teaches kids from kindergarten about proper waste management. Even we utilize upcycle their existing items and turn it into a rubbish bin. This is what we have done previously, and see, there is no such thing as away. So when we throw anything away, it must go somewhere. So this is what we like to share with you on some facts we have here about plastic pollution. We know that plastic pollution is one of the most basic environmental problems we face today. So Malaysia uses 3 billion plastic bags per year. I think each individual, based on our statistics in Malaysia, we contribute 1.2 to 2 kg of waste every year. So we hope from this Ecobreaks and many other initiatives that we can contribute, we can minimize the environmental issues globally. So in Malaysia also, we produces 940 million kilograms of mismanaged plastic waste, and of which 140 to 370 million kilograms would be washed into the ocean. So 13% of Malaysia's solid waste are plastics and 55% are mismanaged. And I think earlier on we saw there's contribution into plastic has been everywhere, in the food, in your drink, and there's so many other which will doesn't really it will not it will affect the health of the people. So over 100 million marine animals die each year due to plastic pollution in the ocean, and 100 million tons plastic in ocean around worldwide. And of course, marine plastic pollution has impacted at least 267 different species worldwide. As you can see here, I think previously we always have, we saw this kind of images that are bad. That's why we can see now there's so many Go Green campaign that leads towards a more sustainable products. So this is an example of a human being where we can see this woman here in this picture standing, where everywhere, every part of his body is it could be made out of plastic. So this is again, how much plastic are you using right now? So just look around you and see, definitely there's plastic around you. So human eating plastic. So we are creating this human consume microplastics via many channels. So we might ingest them. I think this our researcher earlier have spoken about it, and it's important. Even we ARCOM has also contributed in some of the research with the under the plastic pollution project 2 years ago, and that's why we are still bringing this Ecobricks as part of our weekly activities. And these are some easy ways to reduce your plastic pollution from home. So you can actually clean yourself of any disposable plastics, and you can also minimize or stop buying plastic bottles, and do not support any microbeads products, and also purchase second-hand items. I think this is also another important area during this pandemic we are facing right now. I think we need to minimize our spending habits and purchase, bring your own eco bags. I think this has been practiced in many states in Malaysia. And also the most important will be rethink and reduce and reuse, and of course recycle. So this is the sharing about today is about this Ecobricks. It's actually a bottle that contains single-use plastic. So it's not just putting it, bluntly, but there's actually a simple method for you to follow, and it's actually available on Google. And Ecobricks is in Malaysia, under ARCOM Lestari, we introduced in 2015 with workshops and we actually build some of the interesting benches. Nothing is for sale because you can visit now. We have our green school in SMK Darul Ihsan. They are the schools that accept your Ecobricks, or even they can donate their Ecobricks to you if you need to build something useful. Later I will share with you. So this is the Towards Zero Waste initiative as well. As you can see, these are some tips on how you need to fix the bricks, the bottles, so that if you need to use it and build or develop some innovation, you don't need a machine, but even as simple as building a bench, you are actually minimizing up to 70% of the utilizing of cement by practicing this. So these are the bottles. There's always different types of bottles. Even the smaller ones, you can use that and fill in. I have something to share. Well, my friend, she lives in Italy. It took her at least 3 months to fill in one bottle of full plastic, compared to some of our friends here in Malaysia. It's like every day there's so many plastic, and we contribute more. So this is again the attitude that we really need to change among the Malaysians and overall in the Southeast Asian region. So here is the Akom Lestari awareness and education in school and community related to the Ecobricks project. But before the Ecobricks project, back in 2010 to 2013, I mentioned earlier that we introduced the Gyres Sifar, where what happened in this picture, this is in Batang Kali, I think in 2010, where we first introduced this waste audit. So what we do is we go to every classes and weigh each of the classes waste bin, and the most interesting part, we noticed that the teachers the teachers contribute more waste than the student. So then after 3 months, I think we have gone through some challenges, and we educate the students to bring from home their own food pack. I think it's not easy to train during that time. But anyway, we managed to spread the Towards Zero Waste initiative back in 2013, and it was funded by a foundation in Malaysia, and we have consider teaches the kids to at least minimize the waste, and also develop some department and section for their recycling initiative. And so far, the projects that you can visit is in SMK Darul Ihsan. They have successfully developed a station for them to develop their Ecobricks, and even have tons of Ecobricks there that they have do so far. So yeah, this is the school. We begin from when we host this session. It's a free session to the only upper secondary school students. We divide into 2 groups, and we conduct almost every week. I think it took us around 3 months to make sure that this school has successfully practiced and be one of the pioneer for the Ecobricks projects. But we're not trying to create a competition here, or we're not trying to encourage the people to just buy plastic and just do that. No, this is like I said earlier, this is a part of a responsibility. If you do it on your own, I think you could measure how much of waste you have contributed and how actually you can minimize your waste from here. So yeah, these are all the workshops and the Ecobricks that the schools are preparing. These are those that they prepared for benches, I think some of the local council have also took and support their project, and even built small benches in the area using Ecobricks. So yeah, these are all the second batch of students, and then we have another session where we have developed new leaders for the kids to you know, understand better in terms of if they want to use it for a project, it needs to really fit in. There's a calculation for it. I mean, and you need to weigh it in order for you to know whether it really fits to build a bench, for example. So this is a local council project, and with the school, I think in 2016 or 18 when we launched this, it involves several other schools in that area. And I think currently we can see that this school has developed very well, and they have championed in many of any recycling initiatives. So another project under Arkom Lestari is Hulu Langat Community. This is another Ecobreaks project in school with students. Also, I think this school, we develop the benches, and these workshops also involve B40 and housewife, because they are the important I think that actually the people that are surrounding them are facing in plastic within their area. So this is one example of a simple bench that it's a mixture of cement and the Ecobricks are full of single-use plastic. And yeah, this is the production where they have experienced person to measure and make sure that this doesn't you know, break or harm the people. So another project is at Parker Terengganu. This is to housewife and also for their benches initiative in some of the beaches around Parker. I think this project has started about 2 years ago, and now they are starting to you know, collect all the waste. That is what we notice in Terengganu. These are the example of the project after they built by the community, and the community themselves built these benches for people to sit by the beach, and it's actually can be removed if they want to, but so far these are managed by the community around that area. So yeah, you can see that they are using less cement, and most of the bottles are full with the Ecobricks. Yeah, there you go. So there's 3 benches and 1 area where they can plant some flowers there. So also these are like a table, you know, those they uses just you know, the same bottle. Besides doing what we call awareness for the schools and community, also sometimes I think company under their CSR will invite Arkom for a Ecobricks workshop. For example, this is from HSE. So these projects involve the staff to bring their own plastic from home and from the office, and they will then we create like a competition for them. And I think the whole idea is they know that each of the single-use plastic is important, rather than just throw it at the drain or a river. So from here they can produce or even do their own workshop. I mean, this initiative. So you can see there, if it's a bigger plastic, they need to cut it in order to fit in the bottle. and yeah, it's a like half-day session there, and yeah, there's a competition, and I think everyone has the chance to learn and know the importance of us to make sure that we don't simply throw our rubbish, even it's a small single-use plastic from sweets. So these are the projects from the HRC, and of course now the best solution is biodegradable, but just be alert that there's so many types of biodegradable available, and what we hope that this is biodegradable that will not harm the animal, and of course not harm the human being. So with that, that's my sharing about our small effort for positive impact. I thank you, Ecogarage, Shamin, for inviting us to share our impact with the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Johan, for the very inspiring share. It's really nice to see communities, and not just youth, but even the X and Y generations supporting sustainability as well. It just goes to show how people from different walks of lives are capable of practicing sustainability, and not just the younger generation. So thank you again for the share. Seems
Welcome.
like we have a little extra time, so I have a question I wanted to ask you about when you were sharing your slides about Ecobreaks. So I see that it can be used as a building block. As you presented, they were building benches out of Ecobricks. So I was just really curious if you could build larger infrastructure, like even a house with Ecobricks. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for the question. So far, we have introduced small projects for like benches and signage in some schools. They've done is to reduce the waste of sand and cement, and whenever people sit on it, they can know that there's a message behind. Actually, there's so many single-use plastic around us. Why don't we create something like that? But over here, I think in Arcom, we don't build so far anything such like house, or we build bigger buildings and even a storeroom, because I think we are not trying to utilize and create another trend for the waste, because we're trying to solve here. So of course, and we don't want to create a new problems whenever the bottles got into a broken or even got into water inside it, and it create another new molecule, and then there's other dangerous issues behind. So what we encourage is anything indoor that you can build small benches for you to sit, and I can tell you it's very strong. Yeah, even it's stronger when if you really fit the whole bottles properly, and you create the bench in your training rooms, or those benches that you can watch in front of the television, for example. So you can use that to show your appreciation of not letting the plastic goes to the landfill, and actually you create this. So to answer your question, yes, you can find many examples on the internet that they built some showcase house, but I don't think we encourage that for these Ecobricks.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I've another question. It's a little off topic, but since we do have extra time, it is off topic, but it's still very much about our environment. I can see that you have done a lot of work in the hemp industry. You even linked the hemp industry to the UN SDGs. So could you just share with everyone what exactly is hemp and how does it contribute to sustainability?
I see. Okay, thank you for the question. Because of the misconception about this hemp is a commodity and a business opportunity, I think it's my responsibility, and now under the association I'm attached with the MIRA, we are looking into the solution. Like my work, I've done a lot of talks and workshops on waste, and even organized World Cleanup Day since 2015. I think hemp is the solution, because hemp is based on the statistics. The China is the biggest producer of hemp, and followed by Canada, and now it's Australia, and the people there is now consuming a quality superfood level for the nutrition, and the products is the most when it comes to fiber, it's very strong. Even when the fiber of hemp, it goes into the water, it becomes more stronger, even much stronger than aluminium. So these are all new technologies that the world have to solve, and we are still under our collaboration with countries such as Korea and the Myanmar currently into linking the SDG and industrial hemp, because it contributed a lot of work opportunity, and it brings back our culture. And I think, like I have an example in Mongolia, there's a groups of community that they plant a proper hemp plant that doesn't fall into the drug category. They only focus on fiber. They manage to produce their own fabric in 150 days, and those fabric they actually wear it during their festivals. So this really bring back the people to the nature. So hemp is the solution that I think, based on my previous experience, I find that hemp is very useful. You can use it traditionally, or you can even build a cement factory or blocks for your building factory using artificial intelligence technology. So I can say, yes, hemp is the solution for the future. So that's the reason why we are linking it to the UN SDGs, so that it'll benefit the community around the world.
Wow, that's so cool. I honestly did not know much about hemp until I started researching on you, or also known as stalking. But thank you so much for that insight. It was amazing.
My pleasure. Most welcome.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone is as intrigued with hemp as I am. Okay, awesome. So now we're almost at the end of our talk session. So let me just quickly, oopsie. Okay, so just quickly summarize today's sharing. So I started off with 4 main key concepts. That is, plastics are precious, the new normal, which is changing our behavior and habits towards, as we progress towards a circular economy. Innovation is the key to the future, and how we're all in this together, and everyone has a role to play in bettering our environment and our future. And then after that, I touched on the SDG goals, and then moved on to the science, where Kitty explained about the global plastic problem, the problem in Malaysia, microplastics, impacts of plastics, which were truly terrifying. And she shared with us her solutions to combating plastic pollution. And then we ended the talk with our speaker series by Sydney and Mr. Johan. So Sydney explained the story and the background of her family, how they ended up in the boat, and how they saw so much plastic pollution wherever they went in the world. They came up with a solution based off Dave Hankin's precious plastic blueprint, and they've been going around finding, making more products, upcycling plastics, and teaching young school children about plastic pollution. And similarly, Mr. Johan as well, he showed us the human footprint, which is plastics. He told us a few easy ways we could reduce plastic pollution from home. And then he shared with us regarding Ecobreaks and all the projects and workshops that he has done with various communities of various age groups. Awesome. Okay, so with that being said, before we end this session, I have a very short video that I would love to share. Do let me know if you can hear the audio. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to turn on my video. Okay, I'm back. All right. So we've come to an end of, we've come to the end of our talk session. And with that, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. We'd be more than happy to answer all your questions during the live Q&A session shortly. Thank you all once again, and goodbye. one machine. Would you like to explain how it works?
Yeah, okay. Can you hear okay?
Hi.
Yes, yes.
Does it work?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
We're good.
Start from the beginning.
Do we start
Let's
from the
finish up with
beginning?
Sydney's
Yeah,
question.
let's go. Sydney.
So
Okay.
there was a question asking you about how the precious plastic machine works. So your 3-in-1 machine. Could you elaborate on how it works and how you use it?
Yeah. All right. So the 3-in-1 plastic recycling machine, all three parts were originally designed to be all separate, like not together. But then we wanted to make it more portable, so we put them all on the same table. And so now you have to start by getting your plastics. They're all clean and sorted into colors and gotten rid of different types. So make sure you sort them into types and colors, and they're clean. Then you take the plastic and you put them through the shredder machine, and it goes through the shredder into a bucket below, and they turn into these flakes. And we catch all these flakes and we put these into either the injection machine or the extrusion machine.
Oh, you all
and
have an
these
extruder. Cool.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, so we've got the shredder, injection, and extrusion, and there's also another one called the compression machine, but we don't have that yet. And the builder of the machines in Holland is developing more, but we've only got the three. So you can put the plastics into either the injection machine, where it goes into this tube and we compress it into the tube and it melts, and then we inject it into a mold beneath, and then the mold can be literally anything. And then we got to clean it, cut off bits that make it rough and stuff, and if we have to, we'll assemble the item, but usually you don't have to assemble it, and then that's it. But then you put it into the extrusion machine. The extrusion, it goes into like this tube that's horizontal, and it goes and it melts through this tube, and then it squirts out the other end as just a big noodle. And it's this long noodle that comes out, and you can wrap it around a mold, like a bowl mold, like what my dad calls it, Mr. Whippy, or like frozen yogurt. You go around like that. Or you can make like handles for tools and stuff. So my dad is like a carpenter, and he's got tools with broken handles. We just wrap the plastic around the handle, and it cools, and it's hard again, and then it's a perfectly new handle. So we use the injection machine more than the extrusion machine, but yeah, that's how it works.
Okay, so it takes lots of creativity with it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to apologize for the technical difficulty we had earlier with the audio. So I'll go back to question 1, which is directed to Sophia. May you share your activities for Ecogarage? What's Ecogarage doing?
Okay, so Ecogarage currently is a startup company where all students, as said, we're planning to establish a micro recycling center in UNM. I mean, I think I'm not supposed to say that, but yeah, we're trying to establish a micro recycling center. Exactly what Sea Monkey project is doing. It's actually a open source project done by Dave Hankins, and I think that project is very revolutionary, that every single small community can have their own tiny recycling center where they manage their plastic waste. So that's really good. And I want to, me and my team, we are planning to manage the plastic waste in our campus with the school, of course. Yeah. currently.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Sophia. Okay, and let's go back to question 2, which was directed to Kitty. It's about biodegradable plastics. Does it become microplastics after? There are also a set of questions asking the same thing about biodegradable plastics and also bio-based plastic and compostable plastics. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Right. So it depends on the type of plastics that we're talking about. So normal plastics, they will end up as microplastics. And we also have alternatives, which we will call them as compostable plastics. They are often like made out of soy, corn, and cassava. But there's a problem with this compostable and biodegradable plastic bags is that they require a really specific conditions and they take really, really long time for bacteria to decompose them. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Kitty. I was also talking about this article I read because we understand that microfiber is a huge source of microplastics. So suggestion was to create a filter system for all of the washing machines out there. So do you think that this would be productive? Is it a productive solution, or is it not going to make much of a difference?
Yep, I guess it will be really, really productive because most of the microplastics that we have, microfibers from your clothings, with one load of washing machine, like clothes, it'll release a lot of microfibers into the drain and then rivers, the ocean. So I guess that would be really helpful. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kitty. Okay, the next question, it isn't directed to anyone specific, but so anyone is open to take up this question. It is, can we live without plastics? So anyone, any takers?
I will go first, or Sydney, you want to go first?
Yeah, I can if you want, or you can take it. All right. So I believe that we definitely can live without plastics. I mean, we used to before, we probably can go back to the way we were. But the hard thing about that is we won't be able to do so many of the things that we've been able to do with plastic in our lives, and it's such a huge part of our lives that it'd be extremely hard to replace it all. So, I mean, maybe if an apocalypse came and we can no longer manufacture plastic, we'd have to go back to like that sort of, not Stone Age, but that older age. And we would not be able to do the same things that we can do now. But maybe, I'm not quite sure if there's another, substitute for really light, easy to manufacture, cheap, moldable material. But I believe that we probably can. It's just going to have to be very hard. It's going to take a long time. And we probably won't be able to eradicate all plastic in our lives, actually. So we can get rid of a lot of plastic, but most likely definitely not all of it, because there's so much and it's such a big part of our lives.
And maybe we could replace it to more like use the technology, like the Hemp technology or stuff like that.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Sorry, Sophia, I know you wanted to say something about that, but I think we are running out of time. So, actually, you could just say something really quickly, your opinions.
Well, I feel like we can't live without plastics. It's everywhere. Just look in front of you. You are looking into plastic. Mm-hmm. If we don't have this device right here, me and you are not going to communicate, you see? So maybe we can replace that with something else, or maybe we can use like the recyclable plastic, like what Sydney is doing. Maybe we can use what has been wasted into something new and more valuable, like for our computers or whatnot.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. My first point that I brought up was that plastics are precious, so yes, it's helped us with development, and we don't necessarily have to get rid of them, but we just have to manage them better. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to our next question. So the question is, what are the policies that the government should implement to quickly align companies to the SDG, giving the deadline of 2030? So I'd like to direct this question to Mr. Johan. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think Malaysia is among the advanced country in this region, and what Malaysia have currently is just to change first the mindset to us for us to change all the raw materials that we have relying on before. So we will need to go back to the plant-based materials, for example. And in terms of policies, like the government agencies such as Green Tech and Biotech Malaysia, and I read an article in 2018 that Malaysia will be one of the advanced country that are able to achieve SDG 2030. It's just how we change the existing and align it and segmentize it to a more sustainable raw material, depending on that. I think we, on our side, I think Arkom Lestari, under the Sejahtera Malaysia, we have a 5 years vision to utilize the Sejahtera platform as a message to encourage the public and community in terms of achieving the sustainable development goals, and what are the elements. Like, as you know, the World Cleanup indicates at least 12 to 14 sustainable development goals throughout all the cleanups activities. So these are, I think, my answer will be, it is possible. It's just to change our raw material and dependency on the products out of Malaysia and start to work on a circular economy, and the policy will be able to achieve by 2030.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Johan. Okay. All right. The next question is also directed to you. It's on Ecobricks. So it asks, Ecobricks exposed to sun ray, can those last?
Yeah, I think I answered one question when I think you was asking whether we encourage to build bigger buildings. That's one of the reason. But just to inform that there's two types of eco bricks, where one is meant for beaches and it's all wet items into that, and it's meant for wet area. And as you can see from our previous projects, all are covered by cement, and all are actually for a certain period of time. We don't have so far any vandalism happening, so we don't really have anything that says that approach is not, it's harm to the environment. So I think the Ecobricks, the whole idea of introducing Ecobricks is to able to each person to identify and have their own experience of the amount of waste that they are contributing every day. So I think if it's more on the scientific, our researcher Kitty will be able to answer very, very specific on that. But as I said earlier, I think it's to minimize and raise the awareness, and I think by the time if we are all mature enough to utilize plastic for a specific reason. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Johan. Okay, now the next question is to Kitty. It's also something to do with plastic bags. So this one's just to clarify it even further. Does bio-based plastic turn into microplastic too, or does it totally degrade?
So I guess the answer would be yes. Even if they're truly biodegradable, they'll still sit around in smaller forms of plastics before they completely get digested. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kitty. Okay, let me look at the next question. Oh, this is one with Ecobricks as well. Okay, so I think you've already sort of addressed it, but are there any possibilities of toxic emissions from Ecobricks? So not specifically caused by any sun rays, or just any toxic kind of emissions?
Okay. What we make sure is all those enter into the bottle are dried and especially single use. In fact, for B40 housewife, we did teach them, it's if there's some food packing, there's some food there, they need to wash and clean it before they actually practice the Ecobricks. So of course, I also involved with some of the plastic pollution campaign and research. There's definitely when it exposed to sun or even to heat, especially in that kind of climate, it will expose whenever it could be it goes to the water, or even some kids will be playing when it goes wet. But having the proper measurement and the size of the single-use plastic into the Ecobricks will ensure the compact, so that's why I think if you go through the previous slide, I mentioned that it's not simply you just can put in that there's a measurement, there's a weight for it. So yeah, I think that would be my answer for the Ecobricks question.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johan. Okay. So it seems like we're running out of time, so I'm just going to quickly wrap this up. Let me share a screen as well if you guys want to contact us. Over here. I believe my screen is shared. Okay, so for the questions that we weren't able to answer, we'll work with the iGEM team and email you the answers accordingly. Okay, so we've seen several ways plastics have been used in combating plastic pollution, the irony in that. But yes, plastic is the problem that we're trying to tackle, but it can also be a solution. So there's already so much plastics out there, so why not we take it and use it to our benefit, right? So instead of waiting for solutions to be provided in the early or the root of the cause, like through policy and such, and instead of just completely relying on the end of disposal solutions like repurposing plastic, using it in construction and everything that we've presented, I believe that if we were to do both and meet in the middle, we'll be able to do so much more works, and so you'll be able to be more productive. And I believe if we're all headed towards the same direction, the same goal, that's it, in combating plastic pollution, why not work together and leverage off each other's skills and resources and perspective and experiences, and well, as a united and well-educated and well-skilled community, I believe that we can definitely combat plastic pollution and clean up our mess. So yes, thank you
Thanks,
for tuning in today, and see you guys somewhere else. Bye.